cocks and grab your socks. Get your bunks made and get your uniforms on. Police call will commence in 2 minutes.
Cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. Cup of coffee in the big time. Cup of coffee, man, yeah. Man, wow, man.
Hey, good morning.
Wake up, time to wake up, bitch, get up.
Hi. Hi. Good morning.
Get up.
Good morning.
There's nobody home today. Hi, good morning. I believe in you. You're fine. You are much stronger than you think. You suck a shit. Morning, Vietnam.
Train himself, Joel. Hey, welcome to the morning show. You're here with Jack Blaze, Mr. H Train himself, Joel Hunt, and of course, Granny Lisa. How's it going this morning, Granny?
Oh, it is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
You know, this is going to be a really great show because until Jack gets his background changed, we can joke with him and make fun of him. And, you know, everybody, so we have a new name for Jack Blaze. He has a new DJ name. It is now Grandpa Blaze. Congratulations.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm coming at you live from Corpus Christi, Texas this morning because I'm down here for the birth of my grandson.
That's where you're at.
Yeah.
And have you got to hold him and love him and do all of that?
Just a little bit, but yeah, he was in the NICU, so which is a big part of why I came down here is he's had some issues early on, but he seems to be doing pretty good now, so we're pretty happy with him.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, Peggy.
Yes, good morning, Peggy. Good morning, Brian. What's up, Riff? So what I'm getting ready to ask you is because I don't have any grandkids. Okay. So I would love you to walk me through the experience when you got to hold your first ever grandchild. Can you walk me through that experience? Because I don't think I'm ever gonna have that experience. I'm almost positive I'm never gonna have that experience. So if you could share that with me, I would really appreciate it.
Well, I'll give it a whirl. I have to say I'm not a big fan of babies in general, honestly, but it was pretty darn cool to hold my first grandchild.
Did it look at you in a certain way? Like, did it grab your fingers with your hands? I mean,
he has like huge hands. His fingers are as long as mine are already, almost. And of course, they have really tiny hands. But
is that a baby or is that a midget? Or
Yeah.
Right.
Holy crap! Really?
Okay, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but
Good morning, Contagious Effect. How are you?
but yeah, he looked up at me and smiled, you know, as well as newborns smile. And he was born on Juneteenth, actually, so he gets his own federal holiday. That's how special he is.
Nice,
But, yeah.
nice.
Yeah, his name is Luis Andres Sainz. So
Ooh,
Luis.
yeah,
that's an
Luis.
old style name.
Oh, you know what? I tell you what, for all those parents that are naming their children these different ways to pronounce words and names, I like to kick you guys right in the boot because Luis isn't too bad, okay? But then,
No, that's an old name.
Yeah, that's just a traditional Spanish name. So.
Yeah.
right. But when you like the other day, I was at the gas station and her name was not Natasha or Natisha or something like that, and I'm like, why can't you just come up with regular names?
Mhm.
Oh, dude, you have When I used to work on the ambulance, you get all these, you know, it's like Uh, okay, what's your name? Erica. All right, how do you spell that? AIR hyphen WRECKA. What? What? Yeah. So I've seen some pretty interesting ones, and I have to agree with you. Anything that like gets too far off the norm gets. I mean, as a kid that grew up with a last name that you couldn't pronounce, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's worse or if it's worse having a kid in high school like myself that has 4 damn names. Do you know how much bullying I got back then because I had 4 damn names? I've had 4 damn names and I wasn't even Spanish.
Right.
Okay, so with and if I offended anybody, I truly apologize, but sometimes I just have no filter. One thing that I wanted to talk about, something big happened yesterday. Something very big happened yesterday, and we're not going to talk about are we for it or against it because I can see both sides, but it's also that thing, why if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of attitude. But the affirmative action was dismissed yesterday. There's no more affirmative action.
Well, that's only in college admissions, though. It's
Okay.
not across. It's not across.
Oh, okay. So
Industry and
it's
everything.
not like jobs and stuff.
No, it's only for college admissions, and it's only. Um, I think the only new thing is that it now includes private schools also. It's not just public schools, or it's not just state sponsored universities, but even private schools. I mean, the case was actually brought against Harvard specifically because they were using race based admissions. So if you were a certain minority that they were looking for to fill their quota of people that they wanted of that specific race, then you got extra consideration in your application. So they've said that they can't do. They're not going to be able to do that anymore. So yeah, you can still. There's still affirmative action jobs. Are still. It's not just affirmative action across the board. It's only for college admission.
Oh, okay. So I misunderstood that. And I wonder how many other people misunderstood that. Because if you go through like social media and you go through like TikTok and stuff like that, I've seen several TikToks and several Facebook posts about that. So that's why, I'm asking. But that's how information gets strewn around is
right. And all these,
people report it and they don't ask questions,
Yeah, they put the headline up. They're trying to make you click on the headline to find out the actual facts. And even half the time, though, even when you get in the article, the actual facts aren't
Oh,
there
I
either,
hate that. Yeah, I hate that. What is it? Switch and bait or something like that?
Bait and switch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and most people, honestly, and I'm completely guilty of this myself, you read the headline and you go, oh, I know what that's about, and especially if it's something that really irritates you, you're like, I don't even want to read that. I know it's just going to make me mad, and you're already mad.
Do you remember that meme that I created with the mystery, or I didn't create it, I took, and I have it, but it has like the mystery machine and like Scooby-Doo, and it's like, hey, don't click on this bait crap. Come with me and check the comments for clues.
Right.
I thought it was now. So there's been a lot of reports in Texas that the internet is a bit crappy.
Right. Well, it happened, right? But what my argument to that is that there were policies in place that they could have better mitigated those. So they knew for over 2 years that this policy was coming to an end, and people refused in that administration to actually take care of it. And so again, this is a way to say, oh, Republicans are doing right, Democrats are doing right. And it's a way to further divide us. And so then they're using veterans as that talking point. And so as Americans, we have to start waking up and being a little bit more resourceful and understanding that this is being done intentionally and that the union is state. And so the stronger that we are united, the stronger our union is constitutionally as well. And so we know that we are protected on the 14th Amendment, and these things are not being happened. They're not happening. Equal protection under the law is not currently happening at all whatsoever. And so we really need to come strong out as veterans and understand that politicians will use veterans to get their talking points across. And until people actually come forward and say, we're actually going to support veterans, we're not going to put veteran benefits in a chopping block for a package as a means to get leverage. Our rights, our health care is very much established in the Constitution and has no place in party politics. So you're literally playing party politics with the lives of my brothers and sisters, and I find that unacceptable. So they need a place to go, period, right? And we knew that this was going to be the issue. But, you know, what happened at the border was not really projected, this great, like, exodus and income. It didn't happen like that. So veterans, we know that there's been a lot of land that was dedicated that was supposed to go to veterans by lots of different corporations. And they literally now charge places that are supposed to be places for homeless veterans. And so this needs to stop. There's no need for it at all whatsoever. And so I refuse to be allowed politically, but I'm not going to allow political gain off of the brothers of my sisters, or for the backs of my brothers and sisters, actually. So what needs to happen is we know that there needs to be reforms, but we know that with VA healthcare, a lot of this stuff, this funding is controlled congressionally. And so they pick and choose what things are going to be released. So basically, we have doctors that need to be hired, right, for better pain management. That there's barriers to access and care because funding hasn't been there and we haven't fixed our healthcare system. So we know that, you know, COVID was like a really good stress test, right? So if somebody wanted to attack our infrastructure, here's the best way we're going to respond. And we know that we did not respond correctly, and that currently our healthcare system is literally overburdened by, you know, COVID and all of these things. And so we know that when we allocate places and we make it incentivized for good doctors to come, because we're competing with doctors who are paid 3 times the normal amount, you know, what you earn in a civilian. So when you come to work for the federal government, you're taking a sacrifice in pay. So we're getting some people, some doctors that are dedicated to service because they have someone that was in their military family, or they're a veteran themselves, right? But we're not paying enough to compete to make sure that we have them. Secondly, we are dealing with a shortage of doctors and first responders in this country, right? So we've overtaxed our system by not allowing healthy treatment for PTSD and not mitigating that treatment in service. So we have people that are getting out of active duty because we haven't provided the health care that they needed immediately to get back into the fight. So these are things that we can really correct. You know, if we're going to allocate money the right way, then we need to make sure that it's to the best interest of a veteran. And so hiring properly trained people in these critical shortages for like anesthesiologists so that we can have pain treatments. I personally suffer from the highest known pain syndrome known to man, right? It's a super rare disease. I cannot get treatment every single month with ketamine infusions because we simply don't have enough anesthesiologists. So we have people at the VA that are willing to really provide good care, but we're lacking in them, and we have to start competing. We have to
Yes.
start putting that money to salaries so we can hire good doctors that want to be there, and understanding that the healthcare system really needs help itself, right? We have to make sure that
Yeah.
mentally we are taking care of them as well. And so that's why having a conversation about PTSD goes way beyond all these things, because there's much to be fixed, right? And so we know that the money is not being allocated or spent properly. And so when you start following the money, it starts getting very, very clear who has the best interest of veterans in mind and who doesn't.
Exactly. You're so
Amen.
right on. And I think that programs like yours and ours is really opening up to veterans to know what's available. What can we do? I can't remember. I think it was Brandy had mentioned a long time ago. She's another podcaster on Yes, I Am the
Yes, I am a
Veteran.
veteran. Yep.
And she had mentioned that there are more veterans in the USA than there are civilians. And that if all of us banded together on what we deserve, that they would have no choice but to do what they're supposed to do. The government, as far as our care and, making sure that, we're not homeless and all of the issues that you
Right,
just
but
spoke about.
my argument to that is it is purely the government's responsibility, right? When I signed my enlistment oath, it is to the Constitution, which is the federal government. And so,
Right.
when I say that I will protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that means that my health care is involved in that, right? And so when
Exactly.
George Washington went down to quell a rebellion, because when we first started, we didn't have enough money to fund the nation, right? And so again, our veterans, first group of nations from the Revolutionary War, were already being told your health care has to stop, right? We know that in Vietnam, I am brown water Navy, right? So we know that my blue water Navy was decimated by napalm. We know that. We know that the PACT Act that literally just took place, that administration knew when they went into Iraq that they were just going into it piss poor, that we had generals tell them that you can't do that, you cannot mobilize. And so they cost the lives of further veterans by doing that. And now that those burning pits that were created, veterans now only have a certain amount of time to be able to file for the PACT Act, right? But this is
What's up with that?
this was a decision made congressionally as an act of war, along with understanding that the executive office was in blame to this. And so they created this. And so needlessly, in war after war, veterans' lives have been used as pawns, right? And so now people have to fight for something that they knew was already going to happen. And my brothers and sisters are dying countless numbers
But
of
do you
toxins.
think do you think that that's the plan? Because there are so many veterans that have all these problems and issues that the government can't really afford it. They can't do what we need. And so it's easier to just close the blind eye and say the lies that they don't have the funding. We got to take this away. We got to do that. So, I mean, just on Monday, a veteran committed suicide in the VA waiting room.
Yeah.
He's 62 years old. I'm 61. I'm like, whoa, this is unacceptable. What is
Right.
going on? But that's happening, like you said.
Right, and I think
Right,
though,
I was-
like I alluded to, is it's one thing when that kind of crap happens in war. We sign up with there's a certain expectation that you're expendable during wartime, but for it to be
Actually,
such a political
you're not
issue back here is
Mm-mm.
really the amazing part to me. Just
You're not expendable during wartime because you literally want as many of that unit that you've highly trained to come back. And so when they make those decisions based on oil or other things, they are literally saying, no, right? The people that are
Right.
commanding do not say that our men and women are expendable. We want our unit to come back in one piece at all times, so that they highly get this operational awareness, right, and this training, so that they're even stronger for the next mission. We do not want to lose men and women in war. That's not the goal. The objective is to, defeat the enemy, right, with as least collateral damage as possible, and with as least losses to your men and women. And so that's not the right thing, right? Literally knew when they did this in the Aleutian Island campaign. They knew when we went into Iraq that you literally need stuff to pre-position to be able to fight a war. And they needlessly left it alone. And we had to go to Congress and beg for the PACT Act to be passed when they are directly involved in the lives of men and women dying because of those mismanagements in war. And who authorizes war but Congress? Okay, so they're directly responsible. So it doesn't matter what administration we have in the executive branch, right? Like, we're destined to obey the orders of, right, at that highest level, our commander in chief. However, it's the policies that are in Congress that continue to kill veterans daily, and they allocate the money. Then it takes over 2 to 3 years for these things that have been passed, right, to get that money actually put in. So it's, again, we're saying, okay, I problem at this, right, but now I'm not getting the money until 2 or 3 years. You can't mitigate in that way. It needs to be immediately attacked. These are lives that we're talking about.
I got to do a timeout. We have a caller, everybody. Thanks
no
for
more
calling
games
in the morning. Who are we speaking with?
Peggy Jones, how you doing?
Peggy, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Peggy.
Something we got to remember, brothers and sisters, is yes, we want to get angry, we want to get loud, we want to shout from the rooftops and top of our lungs, but we can't do that. We've got to do this with love. You look through history, everything's always been done with riots and protests and violence and anger. And guess what? That's led to more separation and degradation and more laws and shit against us. More control and more programming. We've got to stop it, and we've got to change our mindset and go at this with love for each other and compassion, and want to know, why are you poisoning everybody? Why are you so greedy and pushing these pharmaceuticals down people's throats and these poisons and these toxins that are killing everybody? We've got to come at this with a place of love, because I guarantee you, you dig deep enough, you'll find the laws where they changed everything, and people started getting sick.
Okay, Odd, was you able to hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay, I was gonna say and if I butchered your name,
no, I got the back end of that. We need to fight it with love. That's all I really heard. And so I would say that there have been a lot of people that say, fight hate with love. And Dr. King is one of those. John R. Lewis is one of those people that have said that, there are plenty of religions that preach that concept. And so, yes, we will fight to our dying day with love, but we will also defend this country. There's a point of where the fact that you are a warrior, heal hate, but understanding that perpetration of division is constantly done in this country, because when we are united, we can focus on things that actually need to be addressed, right? We can focus on that democracy is under threat at this point. And so, that's a place around the world, right? We were usually saying we are going to spread democracy and freedom around the world, idealism, right? Our values, our foundational beliefs. So these are things, right? These are things that
Odd. So I don't know if you can hear, but Peggy's asking questions or talking to you. And honestly, like, J-Train, I haven't heard you, man. We gotta get you in this conversation, brother. I feel like I'm in a Trump debate. We got one person talking, and I want to hear yours.
Well, I have to say I admire your passion, Odd. So
I
I'm right
think
with
I
her.
think that's where it gets I think that's where it gets misconstrued a little bit, is that a lot of times, the passion that specifically Audrey, but lots of veterans have that too, right?
Yeah.
There's a passion for what they're fighting for, and they didn't spend however many years in the military fighting. They got out and had to, in her case, she had to fight for the ability to walk. She had to fight for the ability to speak up about what happened to her. She had to fight for everything she had to this point. And now she's still fighting for all those same things, but she's fighting for everyone else out there too. So there's a certain amount of passion that you
Right.
can't dial down when you're in those shoes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
And we need that passion.
she's on
We need
the
that.
right track. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm right
No
with her.
criticisms here, that's for sure.
You know,
I know. I
personally,
understand.
when somebody calls me and they're suicidal in a car,
Hold on, Audrey. Peggy's talking. Go ahead, Peggy. There's just a 30-second delay. That's all.
right, that's what I'm not hearing.
We have to all come at it as a place of compassion. I was security forces. I have had myself silenced for years, and I want to shout from the rooftops those that were in law enforcement that did me wrong, but I'm not, because that would destroy careers and families and beget more suffering. Suffering begets more suffering. And so that's why I'm saying we have to come out of this as a place of love, because everybody's doing something out of reactionary responses instead of stopping, thinking, and responding. How do we fix this for the betterment of all, so that the least amount of people get hurt?
Well, I think,
And,
Peggy, what she was
people
talking
are just reacting everywhere.
Peggy, I think she was
Yes.
talking about the Congress, and our government is what's hurting us and blocking us from getting what we deserve, not necessarily other people like our veterans and personal injuries, that type of thing. She's talking about the how Congress is the one that is making the decisions and voting and cutting and all of this other things, and but not necessarily like you were talking about. You don't want to hurt somebody else, which
But
again
that's what
makes the
people aren't
pain.
thinking about, Granny, is they're humans too, and they're getting hate mail from veterans everywhere. And that's just going to bring more negativity and more suffering upon them and their families. And that's what I'm saying is we have to come at this differently, because the way we do this, it spreads. Our energy spreads. Our vibe spreads. If we come at this differently than we have ever before, we can make changes, and we can make them quickly.
I think letting veterans know,
Right.
giving them the resources to find
quickly,
out that this is where the problem is happening, but the change really needs to be made. I mean, I don't really want to do political right now, but the change really needs to be made in the voting booth, man. We've had the same people in Congress and the Senate for the last 20 years, the whole time this war's been going on, and they ain't done nothing for us, and they ain't gonna do nothing for us, and until we vote it, it's going to stay the same way.
Yeah, and I think you're
Right.
not talking about voting the big politics. You're talking about voting where it like starts from the mayor to the
Your
lower
states.
branch, because
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, our country is not going to be fixed with the nominations that they have right now going on for president. I guarantee you that right now.
Yeah, the voting booth, in my opinion, is what is so limited because, like Joe alluded to, I mean, you get the whole turd sandwich versus giant douche debate, because I mean none of them actually give a shit about us.
I have it.
There's plenty of
we
times
just read the
before.
article. I was just gonna say we just read the article before you guys came on that the whole premises of Biden getting like elected and stuff was this student forgiveness plan. The president's supposed to know like the rules and the regulations and everything, and he used it as a gimmick to get reelected. And not once, but I know of 2 times he's had stuff blocked that it's like, come on.
Well, I have a unique situation. I live in Montana, and it's pretty much a all country, red, white, and blue, working man state. But we also have the highest suicide rate in soldiers. We now have and I'm not going to say the name because, that's not proper to do, but we have a Senate run, and a person that is running is a Navy SEAL combat veteran. And he is running on the platform of trying to fix our state and our VA, you know, with veterans on making a change. And I think that that's also a way that, as veterans, that if we want to see change, we need to get involved in our local politics and work our way and say these things. If we get that changed, it will trindle down. And like Peggy's saying, if we get the positive going, then it will go positive to the next, and we can see things change. I really do. So I'm excited that we have a veteran, that's been in the combat, knows the situation with our soldiers, our health care treatments, and all of this is actually going to make a run for Senate.
Right, and I would say that we also have Lucas running as well. That is a Marine Corps veteran of 13 years. That is a combat veteran to affect change as well. So, I mean, less than 1% of veterans actually serve in Congress, which was much higher before World War II. So we know that we need to get people at every single elective to make effective change, but just blaming the VA is not going to work. We know that, when you're in the military, you at least need 30 years of to now that they've changed this retirement system in something that replicates the civilian world, which doesn't belong in the military at all whatsoever. Now we know that you have to serve 30 years, whereas you can go to Congress or a congressional seat and you only serve 30 years. And you get paid for the rest of your life for retirement. So we're electing people that are making high level amounts of money, while people who are 100% service connected for PTSD live in poverty rates. We are living in poverty because of what happened to us in the military. Now, if we did that in the civilian world, we would have gotten millions of dollars, right? So we are forced to live in poverty while these people collect a paycheck. That's why term limits are so important. That is something that every single American can sign off on, because that has to happen. And getting these people to realize that they don't deserve retirement benefits compared to people who served 30 years in the military, let alone the police unions and the firefighter unions that have to constantly fight against politics. People died on 9/11. First responders die. They continue to die from toxins from a greatest terrorist attack on our country. And we had to go to Congress and go beg for their health benefits. So this is continuing to happen just for us at the PACT Act level, at our brothers and sisters that happened for Vietnam. This is why vet centers sprung up everywhere. Because
right. Well, hey, I tell you what, before we continue, we need to do what we call the time to shine, and Granny is going to explain to you what the time to shine is, everybody. So it's that time.
This is your time to shine, baby. It's your time to shine.
All right, Granny, you go ahead.
Well, actually, I don't know what the time to shine is.
Oh, maybe.
All right, the time to shine. Yeah, time to shine is anything you feel like we've missed, anything you feel like we didn't ask or that we should have asked you that you want to put out there about your organizations. Please take this 2 minutes. This is your time to shine and hit any points that you've missed.
All right. So I just want to say I was raped in the military multiple times, sexually assaulted. And I didn't get proper medical care for anything. This is why I have a non-curable nerve disorder that I'll have for the rest of my life, as well as PTSD. So men and women in the military face a 1 in 3 chance. We do not have a gender for that. It is 1 in 3, a 1 of 3 chance of being raped in the military, which means by the end of this year alone, 30,000 service members will be sexually assaulted, harassed, or raped in line of
Killed.
defense to this country, and killed in response to telling the truth about what's happening to them.
Mhm.
So these are things that people need to understand. We, people here that were raped in the military, or the MST community as their little terminology that they would like to have, literally have the highest rate of suicide. We kill ourselves more than combat veterans, and we have the lowest rate of funding. Secondly, when this happens to you, you have a 50-50 chance of killing yourself right off the bat. Then you become a tier 2. A tier 2 means that you have an 80% chance likelihood of becoming in a domestic violence relationship. So that means you now have a further chance of killing yourself, giving veterans who have survived this, literally, and active duty service members a 20% chance of living. So this is not acceptable, right?
I
None
agree.
of us will be dying, period. And so we have retention rates that are horrible because we've had civilians interfere in the military, as well as the fact that this culture has been allowed. So our military is killing ourselves from within. PTSD is mitigatable, right? And so, I have a degree in security risk analysis and cybersecurity. So mitigation is kind of my thing. So mitigating the rates of suicide, I don't need to complain. I already have solutions, right? I worked for the federal government for over 10 years. And so I am pretty well and familiar with the DOD's practices. So there is a way to get after this. My nonprofit shouldn't exist, right? My nonprofit of so many of my brothers and sisters should not exist, but it does. And so the rates of suicide are astronomical. Astronomical. That means alone 6,000 service members have the chance of dying or killing themselves because they were raped. And 24,000 in addition to those people will be facing domestic violence. And we are spreading generational PTSD to those children and those families.
Exactly.
So we are destroying our families, our military families, with domestic violence and rape. And this must end. This must end. So that way, our military right now, if you asked me if we could attack and have D-Day happen, right? Normandy. So many people don't understand. When Normandy happened, it was a make or break. I am Brown Water Navy. I have been on those boats for amphibious boats, right? And so I literally drove the boats that landed on Normandy, okay? And so when you understand that you're dropping Marines off of there, right? And that they helped create and win one of the most best naval battles that we have ever had. The person that was in charge of that battle wrote a letter and said, I am sorry for the defeat of this country, right? He literally thought that we were going to lose. So 30,000 service members alone, we would not be able to win. We would have the beach of Utah gone. That's how much it's affecting us. We would not be able to have the manpower to win right now.
No.
And so we have to fix this. We have to mitigate this. And no, it will never not stop happening in the armed forces. But listen, there is a better way to do this. And inclusivity always wins the day. And we are united. And we need to shore up our military. Like, we literally have recruiters now in the Navy working 6 days a week.
I saw that.
We're not meeting our shortfalls because we literally harmed a group of 30,000 people that voluntarily joined our country to go out here and kill the enemy. And now we have lost Utah. We've lost Utah. And it's that kind of levelness that we have to approach. Like, this is a serious strategy that must change. This must end. So people that are qualified, that want to stay 20 years in that military, that have joined because they want to honor this country, allows. And furthermore, our children, right? I come from a generational family of patriots. All of us have served, right? It is a lineage. We are killing our lineage. We are not allowing our children to join because people feel it's unsafe now. And we are operating on an all-volunteer force. So beforehand, we would have drafted somebody and we can go win, and we have Utah. Well, our country doesn't function like that anymore. So the people that raise that hand to volunteer, the people that are commissioned, must be protected. must be protected. We must fix this in the military so that way we can continue forward and our generational PTSD stops with us and we allow our children to thrive. And so when they want to join the military, we can encourage this safely.
Yes,
Agreed.
I agree.
Amen
I
to
think
that.
for Bourbon Battle Buddies, I think you can see the reason why we asked Audrey to come on board. She's got a passion that I don't think
I like her
I don't think
heart.
people
I like
can
her
rival.
heart.
You know, it was
Hey,
a
I like your
no-brainer.
heart, and just so you know, Odd, if I had made you upset, like if I like accidentally stepped on you, it first of all, it's like the 30-second or 15-second delay. I don't know why. Okay, but we have different like hit times because like I told everybody, hey, at 45 we go right to a tribute to a troop. So
Right.
I don't want you to feel that I'm like attacking you, and I want to tell you thank you.
You can attack me, right? I defended your right for freedom of speech. So, it is good that we don't agree, right? And in disagreements, there are opportunities for solutions. And so that's what people forget, right? Like I'm a person that, went around, right? Before an operation happens or an exercise happens, I want input from every single person. Because if I'm not going to command something as a leader, my perception might change based on whoever. And for me, it never mattered how many glitter you had on here, right? It was like, what do you think? What do you think? We're going to round table this, right? And so by doing that, every last one of us add value and we come up with solutions together. And that's, to me, what mitigation is all about. I am literally using my experience from fleeing domestic violence, being a homeless veteran, right? Having 100% conversation and then being turned away by the VA twice while homeless in a car with my children.
On TikTok, you have a listener that it's a Vegas fanatic. He says it's not volunteering when you get paid. It's a job. Do you have anything to say to that?
Right. So no, I believe that people that view the military as a job should go work in the civilian sector. Right. So like for me, I didn't join for college. Right. I didn't join because I want to go tour the world. Now, some people, they get hooked in with that. Right. I joined because I wanted to serve my country. I am from Yonkers, New York. I am directly affected by 9/11 in my family, right? So understanding like my country, my home was attacked, right? So I gave up college. I gave up everything to join the military.
Do you want me to read these responses, or do you not want me to?
Like I sacrificed enough for my
Vegas writes back saying, pay lifetime benefits is literally a job. She got paid though. So go ahead and respond to that.
That I did not get paid to be raped. I did not get paid to have a lifelong injury when a doctor refused to give me medical care and give me an x-ray. So when I'm in a civilian sector, I can go and literally go to a doctor and they practice do no harm. And they would have given me an x-ray. And that would have mitigated the disease I have for the rest of my life. And so a lot of us don't have those opportunities, right? Our sacrifice is a true sacrifice so that you may sleep soundly at night. I don't sleep soundly at night. I have PTSD, right? And many of my brothers and sisters don't sleep soundly at night. So no, our jobs don't come with that. We don't get paid for that.
No, and most of the time when you are paid, you are lower income, and you don't get to make your choices. The choices are told to you on what you can and can't do. Now we have soldiers that are on getting food stamps. I mean, what the heck is up with that? They don't have proper equipment, to fight in the war. So they're having to scrap around just to protect themselves from not having, piercing armor, all of that. They're asking families, buy this off of the internet and send it to me so I can have proper protection. There is so much that I don't think the civilians understand what's going on when you're in the military.
I can
Two things I'd like to say before we hit the next segment is number one, I got a job. And if I wanted to leave because of a disagreement or something I didn't like going on, I'd turn in my keys and walk the heck out right now.
Exactly.
You don't have that option in the military. It is not a job. You volunteer for it, but once you volunteer and sign that line, it's a contract, not a job.
They own you.
Exactly.
not a contract, it's an oath, right? So it is not a job. Do you sign this before you get an employment? No, this is an oath. So that is further from the truth. And you're not making an oath to defend the Constitution in your job. You're not.
No.
So that is a very, very, very different thing. That is a civilian point of view that doesn't apply to the military. Second,
this is the meme of me pointing up at your name and saying, "She's got a point," you know. And I'm gonna respond to him for you. He says, "Google its job, give them the money back." You know, Vegas, before you argue, just remember that the reason why you can sit here and respond like this is because we served. Did you serve? That's the question. Did you serve? With that being said, we have to go to the tribute to a troop.
I just have one thing I have to interject before that.
I hope that I didn't make you drink. And I hope that you're.
No, this is so we. I'm on Bourbon Bottles. I'm a United States sailor, so I got my boy over here. I trained the Army, go Navy, the Army, and so I make sure I just swig out of it, right? Like my family is from.
I love it. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't the one that was supporting your alcohol.
Navy drink. We are fully aware of our decision.
Right. Hey, I just have one thing to say. You can talk about the voting booth, but the bonus army got their bonus.
Right.
Yes.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, this was, again, Bourbon Battle Buddies with J Train and Odd. I love you, Odd. You're a firecracker. We're going to have you on again.
Oh,
yes. Okay.
I want you on my show.
Yeah. Check
our show, but you got to bring bourbon or tequila, whatever your pour is. But y'all just be ready to drink.
Okay.
Or you can bring cigars. We like cigars too. That's whatever's. Or you can smoke weed. Whatever your floating choice is, as long as it's legal in your state. Whatever you want to do, just come on and y'all have a good time. So.
Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Bourbon Battle Buddies, check them out on their Facebook page. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Loved it.
All right, everybody. That was fantastic.
I loved it.
This guy's still talking shit on TikTok. I tell you what, Audrey, if you don't have TikTok, you should go over to TikTok and oh boy, my live will be on forever then. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on a tribute to the troops. And when we come back, it's going to be final moments. I love today's show. I love her fire. I'm going to tune into their show so that, hell, maybe I can talk them into coming to MBR. But ladies and gentlemen, it is tribute to the troops.
Sir, I don't know how to tell this story.
Well, you got to, Joe. You tell him there's people with these